having been multilingual, at least 3, 4 languages, Chaucer wrote primarily or exclusively in what language? And what is that indicative of who he thought his audience was when he wrote?
Yeah, so Chaucer wrote in English. All the poems that we know of that he wrote were in English. He may have written in French in his early life, but we don't have firm evidence of that. And his choice to write in English is really, really interesting. And people have often seen this as a sign of a kind of nationalism. And I don't think that is the right way to think about what Chaucer is doing. So first of all, he's not the only person writing in English. This is a kind of trend at this time that various authors are beginning to write more in English. There had been an unbroken tradition of poetry in English, but it would have been more normal for Chaucer to do perhaps what his contemporary John Gower did, which was write 3 poems, 1 in French, 1 in English, 1 in Latin. Whereas Chaucer really goes for English. And what he does that's particularly interesting is that he wrote English poems in particular forms that before had only existed in French. So his first long poem, The Book of the Duchess, is written in the form of what we call a dit amoureux, a love narrative, which had previously been a French form. And his audience would only be used to hearing this kind of poetry in French, and Chaucer is trying it out in English. And partly, I think this is really important, Chaucer is following a European trend. So Chaucer was hugely influenced by Tuscan poets, by the great Italian poets. Dante and Boccaccio are enormously important to Chaucer. And Dante, back at the kind of turn of the 13th, 14th century, had written the Divine Comedy, written lots of other texts as well, in which he said, look, the vernacular is good enough. You know, it is good enough. We don't have to write in Latin. We can write in our own vernacular languages. And Chaucer, as I say, drew very much on Dante, even more on Boccaccio, who also wrote in the vernacular Tuscan. And so I think he was trying to see if he could do in English what his great predecessors had done in Tuscan, in their Italian dialect. In terms of audience, there are losses and gains, because if you write in your vernacular, you are not going to get such an international audience. But at home, you're going to get a broader audience. So Chaucer is able to reach a more diverse range of classes. I mean, to be clear, he's not writing for your average ploughman, but you can reach more people. Nobles were still mainly reading French texts at this time, but Chaucer is writing also for merchants and scribes. And also you can reach more women as well as men if you're writing in the vernacular. And of course, long term, it was a very, very smart decision, because it gave him a much greater audience in later centuries as well.